Florida housing market crash? Some say it will, some say it won't. What do you think? I'm about to go through a couple of graphs that I think are really going to help show you what is going on. Now, don't believe CNN, don't believe Fox, don't believe Facebook. There's an old saying, math doesn't lie. So I'm about to show you some graphs that I think are going to really articulate. And if you look at some of these graphs, they might be a little bit scary. If you look at some of these graphs, it might actually look like there is going to be a housing market crash. But wait around till the end, because the final graph that I'm going to show you is actually going to show you why I do not think the housing market is going to crash. So stick around to the end for that final graph. My name is Haigh, and welcome to Living in South Florida. If you are looking for information about real estate in the South Florida area, well, you have come to the right place. If you like this content, please subscribe or comment below, or maybe drop us a line on a piece of content that you would like about the South Florida area. Now let's get right into the content. Now remember what I said about that first graph that might be a little bit scary? Well, let's take a look at it right here. This is month's supply of inventory. Now, you don't have to be a Nobel laureate in economics to think about supply and demand, right? If the supply is high, demand is low, it's going to drive prices down, okay? So this graph right here, you would look at this and think that inventory is very high. So this is month supply of inventory. Now, month supply of inventory in a seller's market is under 3 months of inventory, a neutral market is between 3 and 6, and a buyer's market is over 6 months of inventory. So if we look at this graph right here, now this is all of the property in MLS for regional MLS. It goes all the way from Indian River County down into Dade County. So this is a huge data set. This is single family homes, townhomes, condos. So it's all of those properties put together. What is the month supply of inventory given demand? Now look at this here, 5 months of inventory. So that's up 217% compared to last year. It's up 4.1% compared to last month. So you would think with that trend, right, as supply goes up, that would be inventory. As that goes up, you would think that that would start to suppress prices, which would indicate that we might have a housing market crash on the horizon. Well, what I want to show you here is that this ascension here, graphs can be misleading. This might be a graph that you're hearing on Fox. Again, this might be a graph that you're seeing on CNN. This might be something that a real estate agent put in front of you as a seller to maybe make you drive your price down. Now, we want to talk about that later. Pricing is absolutely critical. I'm going to show you another graph a little bit later here that's going to articulate why you really want to price a property properly. Also, why you buyers out there is an opportunity that is going on here, really, because there is more inventory, so there's more for those buyers to look at. So really look at this graph in the context of month supply of inventory. That's all I want you to do here. Know that the month supply of inventory absolutely has gone up. Now, if we jump into these next graphs, they're going to show a little bit of a different story, and I want to go into that. So let's go into those graphs now. All right, so this next graph leads into that month supply of inventory. Month supply of inventory has gone up. You know what also has gone up? The average days on market. Average days on market. So as a property stays on the market longer, it gets staler, and that's what we talk to about our sellers out there. You really need to price it properly, because in those first couple weeks is where you really have that zone where the most people are going to look at it. And then eventually, if people don't make offers and or come and see the house, then usually people are going to have to drop their price because the market said that price won't work. So looking at this graph, let's dive into this. Now, that last graph is month supply of inventory. It looks like a very similar trajectory as we see below here, average days on the market. We've gone down from 32 in July days on the market up to 50 days on the market in December. Now, the numbers will be coming out. This is printing right here in January. We always wait for these next numbers. I always wait with bated breath. What are the next numbers that are going to come out? But this goes back to December, and it really correlates with that month supply of inventory, right? Remember how that graph was going up with the month supply of inventory? Well, days on the market is going up because as more property comes on the market, there's more for buyers to look at, right? So diving back into this, as the month supply of inventory goes up, days on market goes up, look at what goes down. So an inverse relationship is as one thing goes up, the other thing goes down. That's an inverse relationship. Now look at the thing that goes down. That's the sale price to the original listing price. This is A, for you sellers out there, got to be priced right. because this is original listing price to sale price. So let's say the sale price, well, the asking price was $100,000. The average would be that they would be getting $91,000, right? That's simple math. I'm a simple guy. Looking at this, what does this tell you as a seller? Well, what it tells you as a seller is that you definitely need to price your property properly. You need to price it properly because you don't want to have people come in and lowballing you. I actually had a property the other day. This was close to $1 million property. It was here in Jensen Beach, and it sold in 2 days. Why did it sell in 2 days? Well, we do great marketing, but also it sold in 2 days because it was priced properly. We actually had multiple offers. So anybody that's telling you out there that the market is crashing, how could you have a crashing market with multiple offers? Well, because there is still demand, and we're getting 91% of the original list price to sale price. So all this is indicating is that the buyers have more to look at. So you sellers just need to price your property properly and it will sell. So I think that this graph articulates this point really, really well. Now we're up 4.2% from this time last year. Last year was a seller's market and the properties were still on the market for 45 days. Looking back to 10/21, 11/21, 12/21, that's all in the 40 days on the market. So we're still in a very healthy market here. We're in a neutral market technically, but compared to, right? So if we compare it to the mania, if we compare it to this crazy multiple offers, cash above asking price, if we compare it to that, certainly it's slower. But if we look at it in the context of history, and we even look at it in the context of a year ago, where we were in a very much a seller's market, we're up only 4.2% since that time days on the market. And we're up 4.2% since this time last month. So, the days on the market is going up because sellers really need to understand to price those properties properly. Well, what does that do? It creates an opportunity for the buyers to come in and negotiate, to get closing costs included. The sellers don't have all of the control because there's no inventory on the market. We were down to 1 month supply of inventory on the market in Martin County. We're actually down to 0.8 months of inventory in Martin County. And when you have that low of an inventory, you simply are going to have those multiple offers because the supply just can't keep up with the demand. So I hope that this graph really helps articulate to the buyers that you can make offers and you can get concessions in there. I hope this also articulates to the sellers, hey, that average days on the market is going up, so really pay attention to your pricing. This is one more graph here that you might look at and it might be a little bit scary. You might look at this and say, housing market, ooh, crash. Well, remember that last graph that's coming up where I'm going to show you why I do not think the housing market is crashing, and the graph is going to show you. But let's stick with this one here, right here. Okay, 30,440 units on the market. That's actually down 1% from last month. Now, 1% isn't a lot, but it is definitely a trend a little bit down. So you can see inventory going a little bit down, and that black line, what that is the pending units. Now, pending is past contingencies. So it's gone past inspections. It's gone past the point where somebody can back out for financing because it actually is just pending to close. Now you can see that pending line just kind of like leveling off there from 6,052 to 6,022. So it is just leveling off, and then that inventory is ticking down a little bit, right? So that shows me like, hey, we might have some stability here. Now remember, that last graph is going to show you mad stability. Now wait for that. But this one here, right here, you can see that trend line definitely going down with the pendings. Most certainly the trend line is going down for pendings, but it's leveling off in 11/22 and 12/22. The inventory is coming just a little bit down, and you can see that ascension, that rapid ascension that we had going from 5/22 to 6/22 to 7/22. That is parabolic, as they would call it, kind of going up like that hockey stick. But then it starts to level off. The inventory looks like it's leveling off, and we will see as the months go here. You never know. Trends are trends. Graphs go up and down. Trend lines can be a little wavy, as you can see with the pendings here, but you can see a general trend. If we look at this, it's down 1% compared to last month. Now, look at the inventory definitely has gone up since this time last year. It's gone up 68% since this time last year. So it feels like a housing market crash. I get it, guys, but please wait for this next graph because it's going to show you that the news is just showing you a few of these graphs. The news is saying we got 4 times the inventory, 5 times the inventory that we had this last year. There's a housing market crash, It's fear-mongering. Now, am I going to say that, hey, we might not see some prices drop, which is the next graph that I'm going to get into here? Am I saying that? I am not saying that, but I'm saying I do not see a crash. I see maybe an adjustment, and hey, Who knows, if the Fed comes out and they start lowering rates, this thing might take off again. But what we're seeing right here is that quote unquote, if you heard it on the news, that soft landing of this, I don't want to use the R word out there, but we might have a soft landing. This is what we're talking about here, that this might really help show you the numbers. If you look at them, however somebody wants to portray them to you, can be scary. Absolutely. Well, let's go to this next graph. I'm going to show you here with this next graph why I don't think that the housing market's going to crash, why I'm seeing stability. All right, so I know I built up to this a lot, and I think it's really hyper important that you see what's going on here. This is the average price per square foot sold. This is a measure when we go out and do an analysis on a property and you look at that particular neighborhood, so you do the comps. So if you're working with an agent out there, whether it's a buyer's agent or a seller's agent, they should be able to go over what's called comps, which are comparable sales. This is how an appraiser would look at a property. They would look at comparable sales. And one of the first benchmarks that we look at is price per square foot sold. It'd be like going to the supermarket and buying bananas. How much the bananas cost at Aldi's, how much the bananas cost per pound at Publix. We try to think with the end in mind, right? What is the property going to appraise for? So we go by price per square foot. Then we look at the property and the comparable properties in the neighborhood. Maybe that property had granite, maybe a property had a pool, and then you adjust that price per square foot given the local comparables. But the first metric that you look at is price per square foot. Then you build from there and so forth. So look at this graph. This is so important to understand. This is a level price per square foot. This is not seeing a precipitous drop in values. This is not seeing a precipitous drop in price per square foot. You would think supply demand. So you would think as more supply comes on the market that would drop prices. Well, it's not. Here's the deal, is that most of these people have equity in their properties. There's a lot of equity here. This is not a mortgage situation. This is not a savings and loan situation. This is not a dot-com crash. This is simply a leveling off, which you can see in this graph. You got 305, you got 299. It actually goes up a little 301. So it's staying right in that range where it's bumping around. We call it choppy sideways. It's not up. I give you that. It's not going up, but it is not going down. Inversely, remember that first graph of inventory. It's not going down in relation to the up, right? So you would think that would be the case, but what is happening here is that sellers do not need to sell. They have plenty of equity in their properties. They love it here in Florida for all of the reasons that we've articulated in other videos. And what this shows you is that we're not seeing that crash. This graph right here highly articulates that there is not a crash happening right now. And frankly, from this graph, it doesn't look like there's any potentiality of that. Now, something might happen, I don't know. But at the end of the day, this is a very, very important graph to look at because it's price per square foot sold. So anybody out there that tells you there's a housing market crash going on, say, I watched this video from Haigh the other day, and for the last 6 months, the average price per square foot has stayed very, very level. Sellers are not dumping their properties, which would be a crash. Is there an adjustment? Absolutely. If we look back May, June, July, absolutely. That was an ascending market, and we definitely see a drop from there, but we are not seeing this catastrophic drop, which would indicate a crash. So I hope this was helpful. I really love these graphs because I think that they tell a story. They really tell a story to you that you can feel confident as a buyer. Hey, I am not buying into a crash. I am not buying and then, 6 months from now, this thing is going to be worth 20% less. The graphs just aren't showing us that. The sellers are holding on. Days on market certainly has gone up, but I remember back in 2008, days on market was up to 150, 160. It was crazy. There was 12 months of inventory. That's a crash. So 5 months of inventory, technically we're still in a neutral market, technically, and also here showing you this price per square foot. I hope that this tells the tale for you to believe as a buyer, we're not in a housing market crash. Now, as a seller, I hope that this helps you understand you really need to price your property properly because there's plenty of other things for people to look at. There's 5 other properties for somebody to look at rather than one property for everybody to look at. I hope this is helpful. If you like the content, again, please subscribe below or give us a comment. I'd love to hear more content about what you would like to hear about. Now, also, if you wanted to look at a video of why I also think there isn't going to be a housing market crash in Florida, for all the great reasons to move to Florida, the agriculture, the tech, the no income tax, well, check out this video here. And if you want to see our local community here, check out this video on a compilation of all of the different communities that we've showcased with living in South Florida. Until the next time, I so appreciate you watching the channel. I'm Alex Haigh, and we'll see you on the next one.